Skip to the timestamp if you want to skip this part. I need to rant for a second. So if you go into your little options, you can see I tried to do this in 4K because I have a 4K camera. It can do 4K 30, and I said, you know what? Let's fucking try it for once. It's sucking up a lot of my fucking storage space right now. This project alone is 70 fucking gigabytes. Thanks. But I said, you know what, let's try it for fun. Let's just see how it'll work. But you know what, I don't like 30 FPS. I don't like 30. If I want to watch a video, I want to see it at 60. So I'm going to use an AI upscaler to get this up to 60. This thing was a 41, 42-minute video before I started doing that, and it still is before I did this. It took 16 hours to render that bitch. I started that thing at 11:30 at night last night. It did not finish until, what time is it? Until about 10, 15 minutes ago. It is currently 4:45. It did not finish until about 4:30 p.m. What the fuck? So you know what? I tried it once. I don't want to have to spend a full day just so that I can actually give you guys 4K 60 respectfully. So unfortunately, until I can get a 4K 60 camera, which will not be happening anytime soon because I just got a new camera here. Yeah, sorry, 1080p. You're getting fucked with that. Suck a fat one.
I got my Switch! I got my Switch!
Dude, fucking stupid. Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host today, Gaming Legion. You can call me Legion, you can call me Jacob, whichever you prefer. Welcome the fuck back. The Nintendo Switch 2 is here. I was lucky enough to get it day one right away at the midnight release at my local GameStop. I was literally second in line. I was in and out within 5 minutes. Bro, I'm excited. Because not only do we get a new console, not only do we get new games, but we get updates to games that look beautiful! So much goodness, so much goodness. There are some problems. We will talk about that. But all around, this is a good console. And I will stand by that. So today, I want to go over a good amount of stuff, at least my first impressions of the Nintendo Switch. I've had this for now about 5 days. I got this back on Thursday. It is Monday as I record this. So I've had this for about 5 days now. I've been playing around with it, playing with some of the new stuff, playing with some of the old stuff, checking some of the old stuff out. I want to tell you how I think about it. And also because I am so humbly generous, I thought let me stream this unboxing and playing Mario Kart World on the very first night. So I will be having clips of all my stream and playing that throughout the video here. You're welcome. So the first thing I want to talk about this console is the look of it. How does it look compared to the Switch 1? About 45 minutes to an hour of the beginning of the stream was just me unboxing the Switch and looking at it and comparing it and not actually turning it on. Shut up. But compared to the original Switch, it is definitely bigger and heavier. No fucking shit. But it is in a good way. I'd say when I'm comparing the size and the weight between the two consoles, the Switch 2 feels a lot more premium and it looks a lot more premium too. It's also got the matte black on the back instead of what they had on the Switch 1, which I have the Animal Crossing version. I can't exactly explain it, but the Nintendo Switch 2 is just a little bit smoother than the Nintendo Switch 1, where maybe it's because I have oily hands, but my hands get stuck a little bit more as I kind of run my fingers down the back of it, which I will say makes the Nintendo Switch 2, it depends, a little bit better, a little bit worse, because sometimes when I'm locked into gaming, it makes it so my hands will slip a little bit more while I do it instead of the Nintendo Switch 2, where my hands are, you know, kind of firm there. But I also like not having sticky ass fingers sticking to the back of the console most of the time. I like being able to slide, so it definitely depends on the situation, but more times than not, I like the fact that my fingers are not sticking like it's fucking fly trap glue. And if anybody's coming from that unboxing stream and heard me say, oh, it looks like they got rid of the bezel between the screen and the edge of the console, they didn't. It's just a lot less noticeable. I can't exactly tell you why it's not as noticeable. I don't really know, but all I do know is that when I put the Switch 2 down next to the Switch 1 and I got some light shining down, I can see the screen on the Switch 1, and I can tell where the screen starts and where the bezel starts. But with the Switch 2, they kind of merge together a little more. I can't really tell where one starts and one stops, which I will say does feel a little bit nicer because it looks like, again, a premium product with that. It doesn't look like I've got this part and then this part and then this part. It looks like it all blends together very nicely. I've also noticed that they actually moved the speakers from the back of the Switch to the bottom of the Switch, which I didn't notice before, but actually makes a little bit more sense the more that I think about it. Because the more I think about it, the more I've seen some possible issues with having the speakers on the back over having them on the bottom. One of them is while you're handheld gaming, especially since the original Switch was smaller, your fingertips could end up blocking the speakers, so sound would come out a little more muffled. Along with that, if you have it in tabletop mode and you have it standing up on its one little fucking flimsy ass kickstand, the speaker's volume will actually be going into the table behind the Switch. So again, it still sounds a little far away. It still sounds a little muffled. It's bouncing off of the table and back instead of off the table and to you, which the Switch 2 does solve with them having it on the bottom. So when you have it in that kickstand, it'll bounce off the bottom of the table and towards you instead of away from you. Another thing here, the top buttons are a little bit fatter than the actual Switch. The volume buttons actually span the entire thing instead of just two little buttons and then a piece in between. The power button is also a little bit wider, which is nice. I do have bigger fingers, so while it was never exactly a problem with the Nintendo Switch 1, it definitely is more noticeable and a lot nicer to have on the Switch 2. And I already mentioned the little fucking flimsy ass kickstand on the Nintendo Switch 1. Thank you, God, for the Nintendo Switch 2 having this one. And while when we first saw it, I was a little skeptical about it being a U design and not the flat back, kind of like we had with the OLED, I think I can slightly understand having it as the U design. I think the reason they did that was more of so that you can have that angle adjustment and being able to do the free angle instead of having it set to one locked angle. Personally, when I go to work, I work at a desk at my university, so I literally sit there for 4 hours and do nothing. I can play my Switch. Fuck off. I'm not being lazy. But I will normally sit there with my computer. I'll have YouTube or a movie up or something or a TV show. And it was always weird with my Nintendo Switch because obviously I would want to have it in front of me. But the angle of the actual kickstand was always so rigid and so steep, I guess you could say, so that the screen wasn't actually going up to my eyes. It was more of going to like my chest or like my midsection. So I was always having to look down on it. I was always getting a bit of a weird angle. I'd have to crane my neck or I would have to throw my Nintendo Switch all the way out like 5 feet in front of me just so I could kind of look at the screen properly. But with the Nintendo Switch 2 and getting to have that free angle kickstand, I can actually look at it as intended. I can look directly at the screen. I don't have to crane my neck as much. It's also easier to place because I have the full length of the kickstand and not one little flimsy fucking kickstand. So if I accidentally knock into it, it won't just knock over, and I have more options on where I can put it. All in all, very good upgrade there. Very good upgrade. Talking about the feel of the console, like I said before, this is bigger and a little bit heavier, and you can definitely tell, but it's a more comfortable, and like I said before, it just feels more premium. Like I've mentioned, big ass hands, big ass dick, so this is a lot more comfortable in my hands and actually allows me to kind of sit there and just relax with it. Not that I couldn't really do that with the Nintendo Switch 1, but the Nintendo Switch 2 just, I guess, more amplifies that feeling. We also got bigger thumbsticks, thank the fucking Lord. I could not tell you how many times I would like slip my thumb off of the fucking Switch 1 joysticks, or how much it would hurt to crane my fucking thumb. And while I still do have to do that every once in a while, depending on the game with the Nintendo Switch 2, it is not as prevalent and not as bad as with the Switch 1. Also, this part is kind of like up to the person. It really depends on if you just like sounds, but the buttons on the Switch 2, I feel like they're a little more clicky. Like you can hear the clicking a little bit more, especially with the face buttons, the A, B, X, Y. I can really tell the clicks with those between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. The D-pad, they're kind of the same, maybe a little bit more with the Switch 2, but they're a little more clicky. And that just makes it feel a little more premium because it makes it feel like, oh, I can hear the clicking. It's a little weird, but some people just get it. Keyboard fanatics, don't get in my comments. I'm not that into it. Also, looking at the shoulder buttons and the triggers on the sides of the Joy-Con 2s, very, very nice. They took them and they actually made them a little bit bigger and stretched them along the side of the Joy-Con a little bit more, so that for those people who even have smaller hands, you won't have to go all the way to the top of the Joy-Con to try and hit them. You can still hit them from the side and it'll read perfectly. I also noticed that with the actual trigger, it's a little bit more curved down to the side so that when you actually place your finger in there, it rests in there a little bit better than it did with the Nintendo Switch 1. Again, it's something that's like, it had it on the Switch 1 and it was good, but the Nintendo Switch 2 just made it a little bit better. And like, I don't even think I need to explain this last point, just... Did you come? Because I came. I apologize, ladies, you also need to come. I'm just kidding. Girls can't even fart. What do you mean, come? That's not a thing. Next up, I want to talk about some of these games. And first up, you cannot talk about games on the Nintendo Switch 2 without talking about Mario Kart World. It's impossible to do that right now. You say Nintendo Switch 2, Mario Kart World comes right with it, obviously. Putting the $80 game to the side for right now, we will come back to that. This is a fun-ass game. This game is obviously very reminiscent of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There are a lot of little things that actually got transferred over that I don't think many of you noticed, like the character called Mario. Did you know that? Did you know that he came from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? There's also this character called Bowser. I know, real deep cut, right? Real deep. If you blinked, you might have missed him in that first game, but now you can see him. He's on full throttle in this game. Okay, in all seriousness, obviously, it's a Mario Kart game. The very basics are the same. It is a kart racing game. Easiest thing I can talk about is the fact that we have gone from 12 to now 24 racers. Holy shit, is it chaos. It is absolutely insane playing with this, whether that's Grand Prix, whether that's Knockout. I honestly haven't done any of the verses or time trials, so we're just going to leave it at those two. I've been trying too hard to get my 3 stars in all of my Grand Prix and Knockout matches, and let me tell you, that's not easy. That is not easy at all, mainly because of the 24 racers. Because thanks to all of those racers, and thanks to a little thing called rubber banding in Mario Kart, which if you do not know what rubber banding is, it is essentially the farther back you are, the better items you'll get, and with the CPUs at least, the faster you will actually go. It is literally an instance of helping the people who are in the back and then fucking over the people in the front. Have you ever noticed whenever you're in like second or first place, you don't get a mushroom? You may not even get red shells. You're probably going to get a banana, a green shell, maybe a coin. But if you're in the back, you're getting bullet bills. You're getting fucking stars. You're getting those golden mushrooms. You're getting those 3 mushrooms, those 3 red shells. You're getting a blue shell. Yeah, that's that rubber banding. And let me tell you, when there's 24 fucking racers and the rubber banding feels kind of the same when it comes to items, oh, hell yeah. There's so much bullshit that happens. So many times, I mean so many times have I been in like second or first place. I'm about to get to the finish line, and all of a sudden a blue shell comes out of nowhere, and then a green shell, and then a red shell, and then a red shell, and then a red shell. And then somebody decides, oh, let's pop a lightning real quick, which fucks over everybody in front of me. Also, I had 3 mushrooms. Let's use a ghost and take all 3 of those mushrooms. Mother of fuck! Okay, guys, hey, guys, was that necessary? Was that really necessary? It is so unforgiving. It is so unforgiving, but so much fun. Unfortunately, all the friends that I talk to on like a daily basis haven't gotten to Switch 2 yet and Mario Kart World, or some of the people that I have friended on Nintendo, I don't know if they have a Switch 2. I might need to get in contact with them. So I have not actually gotten to play with anybody while on Mario Kart World, but I have gotten to play in the online mode, which, holy shit, the game just came out. Can we stop with a fucking meta? Let us play the game. Stop trying to find the best combination. We just started this shit. I've seen TikToks and people in my game already finding fucking insane shortcuts, like they're trying to play in the fucking world tournament for Mario Kart World. Bitch, we're 3 days in, but it is still a lot of fun. And it just goes to show all the other things you can do, which, let me move on to the actual next thing you can do in this game, wall riding and charge jumping. So there's now a little thing where if you hold down the drift button, and as long as you are not taking your left analog stick to the side, or you're not turning to the side. I actually don't know how that would work in motion controls, but as long as you're basically going straight and you hold down the charge button for drifting, you will start to charge, and you can, you'll shrink down, you'll charge, and you can jump up, get a little boost, which I'm going to be honest, I've tested it out a lot. And if you do actually get some sort of boost, it's not a lot. So under further inspection, a charge jump actually does not give you any extra speed. That boost is actually to make up for the speed you lose for the little jump you do when you do a charge jump. So Charge jump is really just for getting onto walls and wall riding, or getting onto rails and rail grinding. It is not for getting speed. It is actually proven to actually hold you back by like half a second over time. So yeah, don't charge jump if you're trying to go for speed. Just do it for tricking. But it is something, it can let you get some tricks down. You can have some fun with it. You know, it's at least a little fun thing you can do. But what it is more helpful for is getting you to be able to wall ride and rail grind and do a lot of that stuff, which is really cool. I think in some maps it's actually like insanely helpful, but it is a lot of fun and really cool. And pretty much every single wall within the game you can ride on the side of. You can charge jump, stick onto the wall, and you can grind on the wall. Fucking awesome. And it just gives you like a whole nother way to play, because you can trick off of walls. Like I said earlier, people have been able to do tricks off of some of the branches and some of just the walls and stuff, so that they can skip whole sections of these maps, which again is insane and so cool that you can do that. I'm not going to be doing that. I just want to have fun with my little kart game. I don't want to go competitive in this bitch. Let's chill out. But I do think it is cool that you can do it. It adds like the different flavors to the game. It lets you diversify the play style a little bit. You can play it nice and easy, just go along the track like normal. You can add in drifting, and you can start doing all of that and drift around like a motherfucker. Or you can start tricking off of shit. Either way, a lot of new stuff you can do there. And I mentioned this before, but there is a new knockout mode or knockout tour. Basically what this is instead of 4 tracks in a cup like Grand Prix is, it'll select 5, 6, maybe 7 different courses, and you are going to drive straight through all of them. No stopping, no finish line until the very, very end. But what you'll do is when you are coming up on each of these courses, you will get to basically a checkpoint, and you have to be within the top X number to be able to move on. So you'll start off with 24 racers, you'll get to the end of the first course, and you have to be within the top 16 to get to the next place. If you're in the top 16, you move on. If you're not, you get knocked out. And it continues on like that. 16 down to 12, down to 8, whatever, all the way down until it is the top 4 in the last course going up and seeing who can get number 1, which is so much fun because it is just one longer Mario Kart. It is just longer Mario Kart, but then you get to go through all these different tracks. You get to try and make sure you're staying at the front of the pack. You can actually get knocked back a little bit and you'll be fine as long as you can make your way back up by the end of the course. And hell, assuming you're just going for the game and you're not actually going for like a 3-star Golden Cup, whatever, you can just stay in the back the whole time, and as long as you're in the top 4 by that last point, speed up to number 1. Like, you don't even have to stay in number 1 at the whole time, which I know is kind of like a, oh no shit, you can do that in regular Grand Prix. Shut the fuck up. It's better in Knockout Tour. It's more fun in Knockout Tour, Betty. Oh, go. Oh, go. Oh, daddy. But yeah, Knockout Tour is great. And then there is also the other one, Free Roam, which it's good and bad. Well, it's okay. It's more like good and kind of disappointing. It is a free roam. You are allowed to go throughout the entire map, basically go to any course, go wherever, and just fuck around in there. You can go through the courses and trick off of stuff, so you can test different things before you actually go into a game and go into a course. There are P-switches around, which allow you to do little mini-game time trials where you have to collect a bunch of coins, and then it'll give you a little sticker. You have to go around. There are Peach medallions you can find. There's the ability to go get costumes as well from different lunch boxes that lets you get different character costumes. That's pretty cool as well. The only thing is the world is a little too big for the amount of stuff they have in free roam. Like, there's a lot of Peach medallions, there's a lot of costumes, there is a lot of P-switches everywhere, but it still doesn't feel enough. Hi again, the editing fucks. So, yeah, I said that dumbass shit without actually knowing how much was in the game. According to some of the numbers that I've seen, there is, I think, over 100 Peach medallions, or around 100 Peach medallions. There is about 400 P-switches, And then on top of that, there's all the costumes for all the main characters. And then on top of that, there's another little collectible finding thing that I didn't know about, which is there are little mystery blocks on the ground, or mystery switches on the ground. And there's, I think, about 200 or 300 of those hidden around the map in the different courses to try and find. So the world still feels a little too big and everything's a little too spread out, but I was being a goddamn fool when I was saying, oh, there's not enough to do. There's a good amount to do. So you get left with a lot of open world and a lot of open areas with the only thing you can do is, you know, riding around, which is fun. It's nice and therapeutic to just be able to ride around. And if I want, I can go trick off some walls and do some of that. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like there's nothing to do there. And maybe that's something that gets fixed in the future. I mean, this is the initial release of the game. There is very easily ways that they can add this stuff in future updates. While I would not like it, there is possible DLC they can add that could fill up this world a little bit more. Seeing how much they did with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I can very well see them supporting this game throughout the entirety of the Nintendo Switch 2's life, because I assume we're probably not getting another Mario Kart until the next console, at the very least, the next like 7-8 years. So we will hopefully see some more content being added other than racers and tracks. Le montage base pour la troisième fois. So, I didn't actually, finish talking about Mario Kart World. So before we end this off, I never actually gave my stance on the whole $80 thing. I didn't actually come back to that. My apologies. This is not an $80 game. Not an $80 game. I will be flat out straight there. Maybe that's just me not loving Mario Kart enough. Maybe that's just me not suckling on the tit of the Mario IP enough. Not really an $80 game, even with everything that they have in there. Obviously, it's a $60 game. I would argue I could see it being a $70 game. It has the Mario IP. They added all the new stuff in there. I can understand $70. $80, at least at this point, I cannot understand. The only way $80 will make sense to me in the future at all is if all future DLC and updates are completely free. You don't have to pay for them. Like, that's the only way I can really understand it. But like I said, other than that, $70 game at the most, not an $80 game. Absolutely not. But let's step away from Mario Kart World, because that is not technically the only game that has come out. Now, while I have not gone and got every single game that is released, one, because a lot of them are ports of games that I have on other consoles, and respectfully, I don't have the money to be spending on multiple versions of a game. There were a good amount of them that I just weren't really interested in my opinion. At least not interested enough that I want to go get it right now. They're ones that I'll be like, I might go get that later down the line. Maybe once I've collected a bunch of other stuff that I already want. Maybe when I have some more money. Maybe when the price drops, I can go around and get it then. And the one I'm actually going to talk about right now was one that I initially wasn't really going to get at all. This was definitely one that was going to be like, maybe if it drops in price, maybe when I get some more money, I'll go down the line and get it. But I thought, you know what? I need at least one physical game, and I want to check out the game key cards. So I have got myself Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster. Mostly because this was the cheapest game that I could get, and it was on a game key card, and I wanted to test that out. And it was a game that I don't have and can't get anywhere else. This is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. So for anybody saying Mario Kart World is the only exclusive, I mean, get out of your 2K and COD bubble, bitch. Come play some JRPGs that aren't Pokemon or Persona. Like, get the fuck out of your wheelhouse, buddy. I say that. I wasn't even going to get this game originally, so it's fine. But I got this. It was like $40, but thanks to all the points that I had accrued at GameStop from getting the Nintendo Switch 2, the accessories, and plus a bunch of games over the last few months, I was actually able to cut this down by like $20, so cut it in half and get this for $20. So that's another reason why I got this one. But again, I got it just so I could have a physical game, but also so I could test out the game key card. And similar to the PlayStation and Xbox versions of these, where they will just throw a key or a small portion of the game on the disc and they'll have you download the rest of it, it works the exact same. You place the key card into your system, it'll ask you to download the data, it downloads the data, you start playing. And while I'm not here to like dispel a bunch of rumors and stuff or misinformation, I do want to say this. The game key card, it's been around for fucking years now. We've been dealing with this. It's nothing new. And honestly, the only reason you would even care about this is if you really care about having data on your card, which I know a good most of you don't. Like, if your main library is on Steam, you can especially shut the fuck up. You don't own a single one of those games. If you have the Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 digital edition, no disc drive, shut the fuck up. If most of your games are digital, shut the fuck up. Because if most of your stuff is digital, then you do not own a single one of those things. If your main source of gaming is through Game Pass, how's that Lies of P DLC working for you? Shut the fuck up. And while, yes, you can say I don't technically fully own this game, I would say I own it more than you do. So again, other than having the data on the card, this is by far better than just having digital games. You own this way more than you do digital games. Even though this is technically digital, you still have more ownership of it than if you were to just have a straight digital copy. Okay, we're done with that. And no, I am not saying that I love game key cards or anything. I still don't like the practice of game key cards, even though I can kind of understand from a business perspective why they are more helpful. I'm just saying that now. All I'm saying is, if it was between digital and a game key card, I would still much rather a game key card. Still does not mean I like game key cards. I still want the data on my stuff, but it is still better than digital. And if you are somebody who mainly does digital, you don't really get to talk about data being on a card because you didn't care about that shit in the first place. But I have played a little bit of Bravely Default 2. Let me actually talk about the fucking game. It was cool. Bit of a long cutscene in the beginning, like 10-minute cutscene. I'm like, Jesus, can we get into the game? But it was a little nice. It was a little fun. I don't have any footage of it because I was playing it literally just at work earlier this morning. But I played for like an hour, got a little bit in. I think I just got to like some of the first few like open world battles. So it was kind of fun. You know, it's a JRPG in a fantasy setting, so it's nothing insanely different from a lot of the other stuff, but still interesting, still fun. Now, if you want to see stuff on Cyberpunk, Street Fighter, a lot of those other games, go check out other people. I don't have those and I will not be doing them because, like I said, as much as I am going for the Switch 2 and I like the Switch 2, I would rather that on my PlayStation 5, personally. Next up is the graphics and performance, more specifically the upgrades to performance and graphics. We've got Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet, we got Mario Bros. Wonder down there, we got Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Tears of the Kingdom, and I also have Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild off to the side because I don't have game cases for those. They should be delivered here literally within the hour. But I've gone through all of them on stream. Go check out the VOD channel if you want to see those, or just go and check me out on stream. I'll promote later. But I've checked them all out and they are running so much better. I'll be honest, I can't say much more for Mario Wonder and Echoes of Wisdom, as they look kind of the same, but it is a lot more apparent with stuff like Mario Odyssey, and especially apparent with stuff like Scarlet and Violet and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, it's so obvious. Mario Odyssey is not really as much in the performance, but more of the color and the graphics and the HDR getting added on. It definitely makes the game look a lot brighter, a lot more fun, a lot more colorful. And obviously with it being able to go up to 4K now, it just makes the game look a lot more sharp. But then we get into the big hitters of this. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Oh, baby! I had a whole section of this, like half an hour, 45 minutes while I was on stream going over both of these games, along with the Zelda Notes app. Dude, it looks so good. Tears of the Kingdom is probably my second most played game after Mario Kart World that I've been playing this whole weekend and time since I've gotten the Switch 2, because I haven't beaten Tears of the Kingdom yet, so I've been going through finding shrines and trying to do all of that before I progress with the main story. And let me tell you, dude, that 60 frames per second, that 1080p screen, oh, that hits different. It is... oh, it's so good. I did not know I really needed it. I did not know I really needed it until I had it. Until I knew it was possible. I did not know I needed it. It runs so smoothly. There's no frame drops. At the very least, minimal frame drops. None that I can really notice. It's even more apparent, and you can really push it and tell it whenever you go to use your powers. Specifically in Tears of the Kingdom, whenever you go to use the Ultra Hand, and it kind of adds that little scan thing to the ground and it changes the color of the world. I remember on the original Switch, it would go from like maybe 30 FPS and it would drop it down to like 15. It would cut the entire FPS in half. Here on the Switch 2, no. There's barely any, if no, frame drops happening at all. It looks so smooth, so beautiful. Oh yeah. Again, just I did not know I needed it until I knew it was possible and that I could have it. But now that I have it in the 60 frames, there's absolutely no way I can go back to it in 30 frames. And loading screens have been even better as well, cutting the time in about half. I believe people have tested it to be around 12 to 14 seconds on the Switch 1, and on the Switch 2 it is around 7 seconds. But cutting it in half, very good. And it's even doing that for games outside of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where cutscenes and loading screens are getting chopped down in half, sometimes even lower, which is amazing. But now we get to the coup de grace. Which I will admit I didn't go too in-depth on because I've already played through all of it. But Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, 60 frames. Oh my god. Game Freak finally took their heads out of their asses and gave us what Scarlet and Violet was promised to be. It runs in glorious 60 frames per second. Glorious 4K. You can ride Miraidon in 60 frames per second and it not slow the game down. You can even go into terrestrial caves and just do terrestrialization with everybody, and it won't slow your game down during the cutscene for terrestrialization, or while you have a bunch of effects on the screen. The game doesn't slow down. I will admit though, when you're doing online play, it actually makes it feel a little worse, because now that there's no slowdown happening, you can really tell when the online portion of it is kind of fucked. Like when it comes to online terrestrial caves, it's very clear that it is the Pokemon online that is kind of fucking that up and not the actual Nintendo online, because sometimes you'll be sitting there for like 10, 15, 20 seconds waiting for something to happen. But again, that's a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet issue that I don't think that was going to get fixed just with a regular visual and graphical and performance update. That I do think is something more ingrained that needs to be fixed, and let's be honest, probably will not get fixed since we have Legends ZA coming up later this year, and probably Gen 10 next year, maybe in 2 years. Please God, be in at least 2 years. Don't release it next year. I want Gen 10. You can announce Gen 10. Don't release it next year though. Now, this is all not sunshine and roses with this console. There are a few things that at the very least personally I've got some problems with. These things could possibly be fixed within a software update in the future, or within later hardware generations, or within like a Switch 2 refresh, like a Switch 2 OLED, where they could possibly fix this. But as a lot of people have been saying, it is the battery life. Now, obviously this is not a problem in docked, go fucking figure, not a problem. But when it does come to handheld gaming, the battery life is very noticeable. On the website, they do say that this has about a 2 to 6 hour battery life, which, looking at the numbers on the spreadsheet, that actually doesn't look insanely terrible. While it is some of the lowest battery life out of all handheld gaming that we've seen in the modern age, comparing it to other PC handhelds, it's still not insanely terrible, at least when you see that 6 hour mark. Because when you do look at stuff like the Steam Deck OLED, you look at the Lenovo Legion Go, the ROG Ally, a lot of those at a max get maybe like 2 to 3 hours when you're playing the most intensive games at the most intensive graphics. And that is the same reportedly with the Nintendo Switch 2 here, and I can confirm you get about 2 to 3 hours on some of the most intensive games. I was playing Mario Kart World with HDR 1080p like as much as I could, and I got about 3 hours out of that. Same thing with Tears of the Kingdom. I would get about 3 hours, some more up to 4 with that. Or at the very least, I was going from like 100% down to 20%. So playing some of these games at the highest quality that you possibly can with HDR, with all the bells and whistles, yes, it definitely sucks the power out. Unfortunately, that is just the age we live in with PC handhelds and just handheld gaming currently. Now, I was playing Bravely Default, like I said, for about an hour earlier this morning, but what I will say is when I went and I checked the battery life when I started and when I ended, it had only gone down by about 10%. And now you could absolutely say a good amount of that was because I was in cutscenes and stuff and just doing basic talking. I wasn't in a battle the entire time, doing a lot of processing. Now, obviously, Bravely Default is not as graphically intensive as some of these other games, Mario Kart World, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, where they all have that 4K 60 HDR, or 1080p 60 HDR while in handheld. But it does go to show that obviously when you're not running these highly graphic intensive games, you can have more time on it. It only dropped about 10% in battery life throughout the entire thing, and probably less. I think it started around 97 and I ended around 92. So somewhere from like 5 to 10%. So obviously when you're playing some of these smaller titles, I guess you could say, it's not going to be as much of a power suck. And while I have not tested, but I do want to test, is going back and checking out some of these Switch games and at least seeing how they run. Maybe seeing how much battery life Kirby sucks out before the Nintendo Switch 2 edition comes out. Or maybe trying to roll back Tears of the Kingdom and see how the original Tears of the Kingdom looks compared to the Nintendo Switch 2 version in terms of battery life. That I do not have the answers for right now. Maybe somebody else does, or maybe I will in the future. I don't know. But for right now, yeah, if you're running these intensive games, unfortunately, you're going to suck on the battery life a little bit. I will say when I turned off HDR, it did seem like I was able to get about another 30 minutes of gameplay. So while HDR is nice, I will definitely say it is not always needed, especially if you know you're going to be gaming for a good amount of time in handheld mode. Kind of going back to battery life though, one other thing I did notice was that charging is a little weird. Now, I will preface this with saying I did not use the official Nintendo Switch 1 USB-C to USB-C along with the brick when I was charging, and in this specific instance, because they only give you one, and I'm not paying another $35 for a Nintendo branded USB-C charger and brick. I'm good, thank you. So I was using the Apple USB-C to USB-C that you get with like some of the newest phones and stuff, along with my laptop, which I don't know which USB-C like type it is. I believe it's a 3.0, but don't quote me on that. But essentially, while I was playing Mario Kart World one night, I said, okay, this is getting down to like 20% battery. Let's try charging this now. So I plugged it into my laptop. I plugged it into the Switch at the top with the top USB, and I charged it while I was playing. It wasn't actually charging the device exactly. Like the battery wasn't going up. It was going down, but just at a slower rate. Like I said, I was using an Apple USB-C over a Nintendo USB-C. I was using my laptop over an actual outlet just because I didn't have an outlet or a long enough cable at the time. So very possible that I just wasn't getting enough juice coming out of it. But I was getting that with my Nintendo Switch, my original one, which obviously the original Nintendo Switch was taking less power and less processing power to use, so it didn't need as much battery, obviously. But I still thought I would mention it. And yes, you can use any USB-C and fucking brick. It's not going to brick your console. For anybody that still thinks that voltage thing is real, you must be talking about the GBA temp post that got put out and proven fucking false. The other thing that I do have here is that it kind of runs a little hot when in docked mode. The first day I got it, right after I was done with that stream, actually right at the end of that stream, if you go back into my VOD on the Mario Kart portion of it, and you go to the end, I actually come back in for a second because I went to feel my Nintendo Switch 2, and maybe it was just like because it was the first time it was getting booted up in a while, or at all, I guess you should say. When I went to actually go like touch it, it was a little hot. Not like scoldering hot, I'm gonna get a 3rd-degree burn or anything like that, but like, ooh, that's a little hot. Why is it like that? That feels like it shouldn't be that hot. And that was after 2 to 3 hours of basically just setting up the system, downloading shit, and then playing Mario Kart World. So I'm not sure if something wasn't working properly. I haven't really had that problem since then, but I thought I should mention it. In fact, while the system does not run hot while in portable mode, goddamn, you could, when you like put your hand over the fans, I did it this morning, dude, that you could feel it. It's running a little hot in there. Like I said, the entire console doesn't get hot, but you can feel the hot air coming out. It also smells really nice. I know that sounds weird, but it actually kind of smells nice. And the last kind of negative I have here, and the last thing that I really have in the video here, is that the fans can be a little loud sometimes. This is mainly in portable mode, but sometimes I'll be playing and I don't know exactly why or what I was doing in the moment. I can't remember, but the fans really started picking up speed and you could really start to hear them. Now, it's nothing like, you know, PS5 where you put in a disc and it starts humming like a fucking tractor engine. But when the Switch is like 2-3 feet away from you in tabletop mode or right in front of your face when you're holding it, It's a little noticeable. You can hear the fans. Again, maybe that's something in the future where a software update can help fix that, where it will make sure the system isn't pulling as much from stuff, or in future hardware updates, it will optimize that power a little bit more so that the fans aren't having to spin so much. But just something that I noticed. And like I said, those aren't really like negative, I don't want to use this system, just stuff that I noticed that could possibly be a problem. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is the video. I do obviously have the Nintendo Switch 2 camera here, if you couldn't tell, but like I said earlier, haven't really gotten a chance to use it, haven't gotten a chance to use game chat at all, so I can't really speak to how well that is from my personal experience. I also do have a Pro controller, but you know, it's good. It's a good Pro controller. I haven't gotten to play with it too much, though. I've been using the Joy-Cons mostly because I wanted to play around with that. And I also haven't really gotten a chance to use the mouse feature that much just because none of the games I have really support it, so the fuck am I going to do? Sit there on the home screen and scroll through? No. So maybe when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I will have a lot more of a definitive, oh, this is awesome, and using the mouse controls. Or when the Jamboree upgrade pack comes out, if I do end up getting it, I can be like, oh, this is awesome. I like this. But as of right now, at the very beginning, yeah, there's not much to do with it. Same thing with the microphone on the system. Again, haven't gotten to use game chat, so haven't really had a reason to use the microphone at all. So maybe in the future I'll have something on that. Right now, I unfortunately do not. But yeah, otherwise, that's it. I am very excited. I am still loving this console. I am loving Mario Kart World. The fact that I have 60 FPS in Tears of the Kingdom, oh, it makes me so hard. And just the thought that we are going to be getting so many other games. Donkey Kong Bonanza is coming up in 1 month, and I will be streaming that. There's also going to be stuff like the Duskbloods coming out, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends ZA, so much other stuff that we know is going to be coming. And what we don't know is going to be coming, there is a possibility of a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct at the end of this month. It has not been confirmed. There have been rumors, though, that we could possibly be seeing one. So if there is, please come check me out on stream. We will be checking it out whenever that comes up, if it does. Otherwise, we'll check it out when it comes up later in the year. But even if it doesn't get announced for this month, please, please, please come check me out on stream. You can come check me out here on the main channel or over on Twitch, Kick, or on TikTok, where we are going to be streaming a bunch over this summer. I am recording this on a Monday, and like an hour or two before I'm going to record God of War Ascension. By the time you're watching this, I will have probably already beat the game. But do not worry, I will have that all on my VOD channel, so you can still go check all the past streams out. Or, if you're not a big fan of God of War, and you're a big fan of, let's say, Death Stranding, Kojima fanboys, Jeff Keighley clones out there, we will be starting a playthrough of Death Stranding 1 this Wednesday, or today, whenever this video comes out, on the 11th, and we are going to be starting a Death Stranding playthrough all the way up until the 26th when Death Stranding 2 comes out. Hopefully I will have beaten that first game by then so we can go right into the second game and continue from there. And we're going to be doing more. I said Donkey Kong Bonanza. We're going to be doing Shadow Labyrinth. We're going to be doing a playthrough of Ghost of Tsushima. I also want to try and do Grand Theft Auto 5 and a few other things depending on how much time I have. We might have some other games. I want to try and get Detroit Become Human in there somewhere. I want to try doing a few of the Devil May Cry games, a few of the other GTA games possibly. I got a lot I want to do. So if you're excited and you're interested, like I said, please come check me out over there and come hang out. I'm streaming pretty much every weekday from noon until 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, bing, bing, bing. And I will see you guys in the next video or on stream. Peace out. I love you guys.